All right, how about the other New York team? As we move to the section titled here, Spenders or Pretenders? Are these spenders or pretenders?
Right.
Or maybe they could be both here. We'll go to the Giants because they have made some moves. Bobby Okereke, the linebacker.
Okereke.
Okay. Close enough. Defensive tackle Rakeem
I used to call him
Nunez-Roches.
Okereke, too.
But the big one, I was saving the big one for last year and the one that I can pronounce. Darren Waller.
Whoa.
In a shocker.
Whoa.
Of yesterday in a trade for a third-rounder, which I guess that's what premium players go. Jalen Ramsey, third-rounder. Darren Waller, third-rounder. Third-rounder from the Raiders to the Giants. Just what was your reaction? We didn't get it live on the pod. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Like what? Oh, my gosh. The Giants got Darren Waller? I mean, phenomenal. And then, to go, oh, wait, third-round pick? That was a little surprising, too. It wasn't after I started to kind of, unpack the details and think about it a little bit, understanding that. But, free agency spenders or pretenders. The Giants are spenders, and it's smart spending. Look, they need a middle linebacker badly. Bobby Okereke is a really good value signing, like my TJ Edwards. From where, not a superstar, but you go, damn, I'm glad he's our starting linebacker. Damn, he's a hell of a player. And then you don't have to pay him huge money, right? So I love that signing. And of course, then, the ability to re-sign Daniel Jones and tag Barkley and all of that, big time. Sterling Shepard, they like him. Wan'Dale Robinson will be back, right? So they're sitting, in a good spot. I don't think they're done. But the Waller thing was a birthday gift. Just never saw that coming, right? And I think within that offense, too, I think, again, what we saw from last year, I think Daboll, first off, coming from New England, knows how to use tight ends. That's always been part of their fabric and DNA up there. We saw he liked Dawson Knox up in Buffalo, right? So that's a thing. I think with the offense we saw this year, right, run the ball, bootlegs, play action. We talk about the Atlanta Falcons the other day when they got Kyle Pitts and they traded for Jonnu Smith, right, from the Patriots. I think a little of that same mold we talked about. Hey, run the ball. Hey, we got big people in. Oh, hey, it's two tight end set. Oh, it's a bootleg. Oh, it's a play action. Oh, wait, you got big? Oh, wait, we could split these guys out now and now be, in the shotgun and in the passing formation. I think that's how they want to play. I think they showed that. And then Waller is a true mismatch, right? And
when he plays.
When he plays.
And I think that's the question.
Let's get into that part of it now, right? Because you and I were both shocked, at least at face value. When I first saw it, I was like, wait, what, a third rounder? Wait, Darren Waller?
Yeah, Darren Waller healthy is worth way more than a third rounder.
Exactly. But here's where I started to put it together. First off, knowing that group out there with the Raiders, knowing how they operate in New England and their DNA, right? It's just, there's a few things that I think would probably play into their thinking here. One, who has been the master of getting rid of people a year before it's too late, or you know what I mean, right? Belichick is famous for that. Unpopular cuts or releases, and then a year and a half later, go, CFC, you, I was right, right? So I think they're a little like that. They'd rather make the move a little earlier than too late and then get nothing. But then knowing that group up there, this was always a point of emphasis. On the wrong side of 30, right? He's 31, all right? He's missed a number of games the last two seasons. All right, so you add that, onto the fact that, hey, there's a prevailing thought, and this isn't news to you, Ahmed. Usually over 30 injuries in multiple years usually leads to another year of injury, or maybe more. You usually can't shake that bug. And New England plays those numbers and analytics, right? So this is New England, Las Vegas, and that's what they're doing. Here's the other part that I think plays into this too. Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers. There was people in the NFL that I know thought that because there wasn't a ton of big receivers out there in the market this year, right, that guys like Jacoby Myers and company might fetch $15, $16 million a year, which is, they're not worth that. But because it's slim pickings, I think people thought that price tag was going to be there. Now, again, knowing that group and knowing that they like that player, when they were in New England with him and all of that, I could imagine them going, wait, we can have him for $11 million and signed up for 3 years here and be in a great spot, okay? And now I can have 3 receivers in Renfro, Jacoby Myers, and Devontae Adams who are like interchangeable. We know Adams is the best, but you know what I'm saying, where you can't pin any of them into one area, right? Some teams, like we got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Boyd, and their roles. McDaniels likes a little bit more. You don't know the roles. You don't know what to expect. You can't pin this guy to, he's only the slot and runs these routes, right? So that, I think his belief is that opens up the offense. So that, I think, is great value to him. And then I think when you add on this last piece, Ahmed, there's a lot of people, right? I haven't got to the tight ends yet, but there's 3-4 names being thrown out as far as tight ends being drafted in the top 25 picks.
Yeah.
They're sitting pretty in the first round, early second, whatever, to get one of these tight ends. I've had a coach tell me that it's the best tight end class they've seen and that they can remember. So it's like the depth is good, the high-end talent's good, so that's all there. So then again, me going back to the New England thinking of what I do a little, like, again, that's where they play analytics, and they go, wait, Darren Waller, up there in age, 30-something years old. Oh, wait, and the Giants had interest and willing to trade. Oh, and he has an injury history, and we're a little scared there. Oh, wait, we get Jacoby Myers locked up 3 years. We know it. We're good. We get a tight end on a rookie deal 4 years. So now we have 2 players, right, with 7 years ahead of them as compared to, Darren Waller. We got him 1 more for sure, but I hope it's more than that. And knowing that group out there, I'm guessing that's their logic.
All right, so let's compare the 2 teams.
Sorry about that long explanation, but there was a lot of unpacking there in that
one. That's what we do here. Let's talk about the 2 teams. You got your G-men, and you got the Raiders, who you just talked about. Now, the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously, being splashed live on the pod. Jacoby Myers comes over. They got Marcus Epps, too. They re-signed Josh Jacobs on the franchise tag. Amir Abdullah is added to their backfield as well, former Lion out there. So they've lost Waller. They've lost Derek Carr. They've lost Jarrett Stidham. I do want to ask you about Carr versus Garoppolo second, but just the Giants and Raiders, who do you like what they've done more at this point?
That's a good question there. I think if I had to do, I'm going to go with the Giants right now.
Okay,
I am. The fact that they got to, get Daniel Jones done, got the Saquon Barkley thing done, and then Darren Waller, that to me was 3 big-time moves. I don't dislike what the Raiders have done. I don't. I think they're doing smart. And again, like we talk about with the Raiders here, it's the long play. This is not about like, we're trying to flip this around in a year and going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're trying to make it to where they're like next year, the year, and then they're good for 10 years. That's what they're trying to do.
Does Josh know that everyone wanted to fire him in the fan base, or not necessarily the Raiders fan base, but it seemed like the NFL community?
Yeah.
At the end of last year?
I'm sure. But I think that's where you and I tried to speak logic into it a little bit. And I think he was confident in the fact that Mark Davis is smart enough. And with all those hires that he made, that like, okay, wait, this is not about right now, this moment. This is a true professional group with a detailed, long-term plan. That's what you're getting from McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, right? Where with like Gruden, it might have just been like, hey, it's Wednesday and I want to do this, and tomorrow's Thursday and I want to do that.
Yeah.
I changed it all around. I wanted to throw it 70 times yesterday. Now I want to be a smash. So, they can make you believe in their overall plan because of that too. But hey, Jimmy G, for them, they're going to like him better than Derek Carr. And for most, yes, Derek Carr is better than Jimmy G.
Okay.
But I think that, Jimmy G's ability to stand in the pocket, play tough, and then pull the trigger into tight windows, they love that. Now, Jimmy G can pull the trigger into, like, when that window's closed. That's not tight. That's closed.
Yeah.
Don't throw it.
Yeah.
There's 2 guys there. There's no window, right? But I think he's more, of course, they drafted him. He's more of their DNA and what they like out of the quarterback. But is his talent level Derek Carr? No, it's not.
But he's also making half as much.
Well, yeah, definitely.
So you can use that money elsewhere.
Yes.
I mean, that's got to always be part of the equation, because I think you're going to compare Derek, what he does in New Orleans with Jimmy Garoppolo, but there's more to it than that.
There's more to it than that. The money is a thing, too. And they knew Derek Carr wasn't the long-term answer, right? They knew that. So you can't be mad at them for this move here, right there. And, we'll see. I'm interested to see if they maybe still draft a quarterback. Is there somebody that maybe floats around in the early second that they go, oh, I like this guy. He's got a future here, but that was a huge move yesterday. And then, for the Raiders, too, the Marcus Epps, getting him at safety position, that's a nice signing as well. It is. Now, I would expect that's where it goes from the Raiders, just that now it starts to become some defensive guys to round out that side of the football, because offensively, they're in a pretty good position all in all, other than maybe a lineman here or there.
Yeah. All right, so those are some teams that have made some moves, but we got to get into the big spenders here. The big-time spenders, the Broncos and the Falcons, have spent a lot of money early on here in free agency. And if you're wondering what happens every year to the teams that spend the most in the offseason, you hear this a lot.
It's really cool.
You don't want to win the offseason, right? It's about winning in the season. But this graphic will show us here, and this kind of was illuminating to me, is that by being the top spending team in free agency, you actually can make a pretty big boost. And historically, we have seen the teams that have spent the most make a pretty big jump. So last year it was the Jaguars. They were 3-14, and then they improved to 9-8 last year. And we saw they won in the playoffs, beat the Chargers, came back. Patriots the year before in 2021, they were 7-9. Boom, now they're 10-7. So a lot of these teams the last few years, now you're watching on Peacock or YouTube, you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 7 years, the teams that have spent the most have made the playoffs, and they were not a playoff team the previous year.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And one of those
amazing.
teams is the Dolphins, who were 10-6 and just missed out on the playoffs.
That's true.
So yeah, there's real value to that. It's actually a shocking stat. I mean, I
am surprised too, because it seems like a lot of the narrative is like, you won the offseason.
Oh, yeah,
congratulations.
Great. Oh yeah, great. You won. Yeah. You can't turn a team over in 1 year. Yeah, you can. You definitely can. And I forget highest. They're the highest spending teams.
Yeah.
I'd love to even maybe that's something we do for the next pod. We go into what about some of those teams that were 2 and 3 in those years?
Terrible.
I gotta think
they get worse.
Well, I gotta think like Tampa Bay spent a ton of money the year they brought Brady.
That's true.
Right. They might not have been the highest, but it was up there, and look what it did for them.
Yeah.
So there's I would think some examples, and I think yes, we are officially in the era of you can flip a team around in a year or two.
Yeah.
You can. Now, is it going to be the best long-term solution? Or is it going to be like the Rams, and all of a sudden you get to year 6 and you're like, oh, I mean, we flipped it around, but now we're for a few years here, right?
Worth it,
right?
And I do wonder too if it's that teams really know their window, right? Teams won't spend until they're pretty sure we're in that window. We got a good young core, and we just need a couple pieces. And if we do that, then we will be. I think
that's fair. I think you're right. You're right about that too. You're right, and I think we're seeing that a little. With maybe some of the teams we saw spend some big money here, but yeah, certainly on that list right there, I think there's some of that for sure.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.